This episode is incredibly deep because we have one of the most impactful men you will ever hear speak on this show, Dr. Marcus Campbell. He's a command sergeant major, and we can't tell you more about him, but let me tell you about why you should watch this episode, because we talk deep about veterans, mental health, people that look like you that can help you, and also you and the purpose you're meant to serve in helping others. I'm telling you, this show, watch it. Welcome back to Aspire Higher with Charles and Ivana Bailey. Oh man, I'm super excited because I get to introduce someone who's incredibly special and meaningful to me. This is family. Not like the way that we always talk about it, but real family. This is my uncle, Dr. Marcus Campbell. This man, and I'm gonna do it because I gotta give flowers where I get the chance to. He has served 30 years in the U.S. Army. You better salute. He's literally been ranked Command Sergeant Major. But as if that wasn't enough, the man continued to pursue academic excellence, and he's got his PhD in counseling. Therapist, licensed therapist. The man is all about saving lives and changing lives. Woo! Come on now. That's what we talk about when we talk about aspiring higher. Dr. Marcus, how are you doing today?
Oh, nephew, I'm doing great. I know we talked about how I'm going to address you, but I just feel so grateful to be here and to be a part of this. So I appreciate you and Ivana inviting me to take part in this.
Man, you better believe it.
It's exciting.
It is exciting, man. We hadn't seen you in so long, man, but
Yeah,
you still look
seriously.
good. And what they call them, is it zaddies?
That's what we're not going to do. That's what we are not
Hey, man,
going to
you
do on
look
this
good,
show.
Oh, my
brother. I
God.
hope I
Okay.
aged that well,
That's what
my
happens when
man.
people get on Instagram
Hey,
and
well,
learn a few things. Anyway, moving
Look,
forward.
and that actually aged me. I'm
God.
sweating. Okay, well, look, Doc, we're so excited because there's so many things that we can't wait to dive in. And from leadership, mental health, which is your specialty, but also military experience. And this show is always wrapped around helping people to set higher aspirations. But of course, they want to know a little bit about you outside of what I said. So can I start you off with one question that maybe you can kind of turn into an answer? Military. What was the greatest thing those 30 years taught you?
You know, when you're in the military, you kind of transition, you go through a lot, especially when you join like I did. I joined right out of high school. So after my summer year, after graduating in August of 1986, I was in basic training.
Wow.
So I learned a lot. And what I got out of it is what it's like to have to depend totally on God.
Yeah. Come on.
Because once I decided that I had to do it his way,
Yeah.
then I could only do it one way.
That's right.
Come on.
And so that's what I got out of it. Because when I retired, I was asked to serve as the chief of staff to the mayor of the city. And I didn't see that coming.
Right.
And nor have I ever served in any type of capacity like that. So again, I had to lean totally on God to guide me.
That's incredible.
So out of 30 years, if I had to attribute what I got out of it, I would attribute it all to God and how it really strengthened my walk and my relationship with him.
Wow.
Incredible.
Coming out from high school, that's pretty impressive.
Yes.
How is it, let's break it down, lean on God. What does that mean when you transitioned, when you had to go from rank to rank? What did that look like?
Wow. Yeah, that's a great question. So when I joined the military, I had these different ideas of what it was like, and I'm from Mississippi.
That's right.
So,
Yeah, shout out
I'm
Mississippi.
really
Crooked letter.
thinking I'm about to encounter these people from the big cities and all this other stuff. And to be quite honest with you, I was scared, because I didn't know what to expect. But what I didn't want to appear was weak or, show that I was scared. So I went in kind of feisty, and and once I got through basic training and got to my duty station, then I was a little depressed. So I went through that. I wasn't your model soldier, so I was pretty bad off, to be totally honest with you. I didn't even know it. So I was doing everything as far as military wise that you didn't need to do. Didn't look the part, didn't feel the part. People could see that. I'm 18, maybe 19 years old at this time, and I'm away from home. I'm at Fort Bragg, North Carolina, and there they don't cut you any slack. That's home of paratroopers. I was in an airborne unit, so we was tough. We was hard, and if you wasn't right, you was kind of left on your own. But this is how God works. So I was standing in the chow hall line, just kind of keep the terminology common. And a sergeant, a non-commissioned officer, walked up to me while I was a private or PFC, and I didn't know he was watching me. I didn't know anybody watched me. I didn't even know anybody cared. So he walked up to me and he didn't trip. He didn't go off on me. My uniform was looking pretty shady at the time. And he just whispered in my ear as if he was having a conversation with me, didn't embarrass me or none of that. And he said, if you don't invest in yourself, who will? And then he walked off. He didn't explain it. He didn't elaborate on it. He just walked off and got back in line. And I went and ate. And my next stop was the latrine. I went back to the barracks and I looked in the mirror. And I remember saying this to myself. I said, Carl and Maybell didn't raise you to be this way. And Carl and Maybell are my parents. And that's the first time I ever called them by their name. Of course, I was away from home.
Yeah. He said, look, I was away from home. I can say that first name.
Yeah, I didn't say mom and daddy. For some reason, I said Carl and Maybell didn't raise you like this.
Wow.
So that day, I took all my money and I went to what we call the clothing and sales, and I bought 4 new uniforms. I bought brand new boots, a brand new hat. I bought some Stay Flow starch and some boot polish, and I went to my room and I spent all night starching my uniform, shining my boots. Everything was, I'm talking, I was above standard.
Woo.
So I walked out to my uniform, to my formation the next morning, and this is when I realized how far I had fallen. The whole formation about passed out when they saw me. They were like, wow. They were astonished. And I was like, instead of, but yeah, okay, it hit me. Man, I must have been in pretty bad shape for them to have this reaction. And so again, as I reflect back on that, I'm watching how God is working. And so after that, what that sergeant said came to fruition. People start pouring into me. Leaders start grabbing me and saying, okay, this is what you need to do now to move forward. And next thing I know I'm in leadership schools, primary leadership development courses, and I'm given a team. Now I have leaders. Now I have soldiers that work for me. I'm a supervisor. And before I left that unit, they promoted me or laterally appointed me to corporal. So now I'm a non-commissioned officer at the lowest rank, but I'm a non-commissioned officer. I'm in that group. And as they PCS me off to go to another unit. But that's, so to your question, that's how that worked. And I believe that I'm not the only one that went through that process. And what that process did was, as I progressed through the ranks, and especially once I rededicated my life to God, because I'm not going to say I gave it to him at that time, because I did when I was a child. But I strayed. I had issues. But he was true to his word to my mom and my dad, to where he brought me back. And I was able to take that experience and inform the decisions and the recommendations that I made when I had the opportunity to have to deal with soldiers who looked like me. As a soldier, as when they got in trouble, I didn't have to act like, well, I never was in trouble because I was there. I never had to act like I don't understand what you're going through because I was there. I knew what to do because it was done for me when a sergeant came to me and spent time and said, if you don't invest in yourself, who will?
Oh
Exactly.
my gosh.
That's so deep.
Woo!
And you know what's interesting is, first of all, the investment was worth it all.
Yeah.
Because I'm thinking about, what if you did not choose to invest?
Everyone.
First of all, you wouldn't be recognized by your future. You wouldn't be recognized by the individuals that already had the seeds ready to harvest and plant in you.
Yeah.
You also wouldn't have been ready for your best self. So that choice that you made, even to change the outer appearance, that is everything. And we know biblically, there are so many times where the name changes happen,
Yeah.
identity changes happen,
Yeah.
and you walk into greater purpose when that happens. And as you walk in that purpose, people will meet you because you're in alignment. When you're out of alignment, I mean, that's the hardest thing to do, is get back in. But I'm really proud of you because you chose to do that. And look at your career.
Yes.
Like, look at what you've done. It's incredible. And you're such that's beautiful. It's
But
beautiful.
there's so many things to extract from there, Unc. Oh my gosh. And you
a
were
lot.
just on a roll.
Yes.
First thing I want to say to you, if you're listening, hear me clearly. You're probably in a position where you're looking for someone to put you on.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the greatest lessons I've ever learned, which mirrors what my Unc just said, is that you must put yourself on first.
Yeah, that's right.
I will never forget the story you told, and we shared this on the podcast, about you losing your phone, remember, at the
Yes,
Art
yeah.
Basel. And in our book, The Flight of Your Life, which we just told you is republished under our own private label,
Yes.
whoop, whoop. In our book, we talk about your future.
Yeah.
If your future comes to pass, listen carefully. If you don't reflect the image it was looking for, it would do exactly that. It will come only to pass.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. And now I have to ask you, Unc, because before you move forward, we got to talk about grandpops. Is that one of the biggest reasons why you found yourself in the military as well? Because even my dad, military. Was granddad an
So-
inspiration?
My dad was, man, first of all, I'm so proud of him. And every time I talk about him, I get a little,
It's okay.
a little emotional
That's
because
okay.
he was a huge guy to me. I was proud to serve because, that was something that he and I had in common with my dad.
Yeah.
We were both in the military. He was in World War II.
Yes. Drove some
so,
live artillery, didn't he?
No, he was transportation.
Okay, that's what I thought. Okay.
He was actually a member of the Red Ball Express, which
That's
is a
what I heard.
historic black unit that was set up to transport supplies from the rear to the front line.
That's what I was talking about. So there weren't any artillery in there?
Well, there may have been, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
that was the
whatever
story
the
I got.
supplies,
Okay.
whatever the logistics was, he transported it, and it was an all-black unit. And I remember him telling me, like, they had to go out one at a time because, the aircraft was looking for them. They were looking for large convoys to attack. So they would have to go out in smaller units, like one vehicle at a time, because the convoys the aircraft wouldn't, the fighter planes wouldn't waste their time with them. So he was telling me about that, or he told me about some of his experience. So one time when I was in the while I was in the military, I wanted to push because I wanted to know more about it. I wanted to know more about him. And we were in a den and we were talking, and he told me about a time when he watched somebody die, and I saw him kind of reliving that, and it prevented me from pushing forward, and because I didn't know what he was seeing at the time. But corporal was the proudest rank I've ever worn because that's what he was. And I remember when I pinned it on, it didn't matter. What I knew was I had achieved something that my father had achieved. At the time, I didn't see 30 years in the military. At the time, what I saw was a tribute to him and his service, the things he was unable to achieve because of who he was. He talked about how African Americans were treated in the military. And just being a part of something that he was a part of was an awesome experience for me. And I carried that with me throughout my career.
I love that. Wow. It's so impressive too because you are legendary, yet you came from a legend and you're able to build something so special and so yet similar with his father. That's so
Yes.
great. Now, was it difficult to transition into the corporal role? Because sometimes we can aspire higher
Sure.
and not be ready. But were you ready, sincerely?
Oh yeah. I was ready, and what was great about it is that I had other NCOs senior to me
Okay.
who really looked for every opportunity to help me become better.
Wow. So you had support.
So, oh yeah, I had support. I had sergeants, and so when they could have taken charge in over a platoon or something like that, of a squad, really, they said, "Well, let Corporal Campbell have it." They sit in the back and let me run it.
That's a let him hit it.
Now,
Interesting.
Yeah.
maybe they were just
Like, you
pushing the
got
work
it.
off
Yeah,
on
that
me,
Yeah,
but
baby. Like,
because I
so
was
he got it.
hungry, I was like, "Yeah, I'll take it. I got you," and I
Yes.
was running with it, and they saw I wanted it, so they
Yeah.
kept pouring it into me.
Good,
So they
Sure.
good.
they kept providing me with those leadership
Come
opportunities
on.
that helped me become a better leader. So yeah, I had some great guys that poured into me. But really, and I'll share this with you. My greatest leadership lesson did come from my father, though. He was the type of guy that showed you. He worked until he passed away. Um, but one time, I think I was a staff sergeant. I always wanted to learn and become better at what I was doing. And so I was going through some family photos, and my father was a dining facility manager, in his civilian life. And he had one of the best dining halls in the Air Force. And I saw the certificates where he won all sorts of awards and everything. He worked his way from cook to the dining facility manager. And during that time, that wasn't an easy feat. Um, all these pictures I saw him in, people of all colors, black, white, um, they were happy. They were smiling. They looked like they were having a good time. They were hanging all over him, and it was confirmed every time I met somebody. They had nothing but positive things to say about him. And so I asked him. I said, "Why are all these people happy all the time?" I said, "All these folks around you." I said, "What's going on? Why are they happy?" And he just said, "You just have to treat people with dignity and respect."
That's
That's
it.
the bottom
That is
line.
it. That's the key.
And that was it. And
Yes.
so I carried that. And when I became a first sergeant, which was one rank below command sergeant major, um, one of my units, I had a company in Japan, and I had them treat everyone with dignity and respect on the front and the back of every door in the building. So that was the first thing you saw when you entered the room. It was the last thing you saw when you left. And that was a tribute to him, but it was also, that's what you do. That's what was done for me. But really, I took what he told me and I just lived by it. When I didn't know what to do,
Mm-hmm.
that's what I did.
Come on.
Wow.
That's
Wow.
leadership right
Yeah,
there.
and again, you don't realize the legacy that you're leaving and the people
Yes.
behind you.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes. And it's something it's not even simple, but it's foundational.
Yeah, I'll give you that.
That's it.
Yeah, because he built his mindset off of that.
Absolutely.
And
And,
I
then
w-
had others follow that. That's a great leader.
And I think that's the thing to say. One, I love listening to my uncle give credibility and honor to, it was funny, dignity and respect,
Right.
but someone who's passed, but passed something on.
That's right.
And that legacy is continuing because it helped him develop into the person that he is today.
Yes.
And I want to get back to something before we go too far, because your specialty is in mental health, and you said a lot of things that connect with that. You have anything you want to add real quick?
Go ahead.
Well, the thought you were saying earlier, you were talking about how in the military you were depressed and you didn't know it.
Yeah. That was
And I wanted to see if you can go back on that and elaborate. And then secondly, I want to tie that to Granddad, not to make this about him, but just so you can extract it. You said that he saw someone die and you saw him reliving that. And I wonder if those things put the seed in you that there's a need for mental health, and especially in our culture, Black mental health.
Yeah. Yeah. So when I was in, we didn't know much about mental health. As a matter of fact, when I say when I was in my younger years, the time that I'm talking about when I was private camp, we're talking about maybe the late 80s. So mental health was not something that I went and said, "Hey, Sarge, I'm depressed. I need to go talk to somebody." because you had security clearances, you had other things, progression and things that would prevent you from seeking that help because you felt you would be labeled as someone who has a problem. You can't be trusted around weapons, and it can impact your whole career. So, and depression never really entered my mind. It was just, that's how I felt, so now I know what it was when I reflect back on it. I know what caused that. I kind of related to that college kid's first year in college. How they have a problem adjusting, their grades may not be the best because they're trying to figure out life and stuff. So maybe that's what I was going through. That's kind of, now that I know, I can kind of label it to,
Of course.
That's what I was dealing with.
Right.
So I wrote a paper a while back, my dissertation, and it dealt with intergenerational trauma. And my father saw a lot, not just in the military, but just in life, given that he was born in 1921.
Wow.
Incredible.
So, and I'm so proud to say that,
Right.
to say that my father, because most people have to say their grandfather.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. That's very true.
My father was this guy. My father was that guy. So the things that I think he went through, not just through the military, but just in life, we can call it post-traumatic stress disorder now, but he didn't have the opportunity to address it. He just had to deal with it. And the way he parented was probably seen in it. The way he moved through life was probably informed by it. And now that I am in the field that I'm in, I understand that. And it informs how I feel about what I do, because everybody either don't know about mental health or they don't have the access to it.
That's right. That's right.
A lot of times today is by choice, but a lot of times it's also by not knowing. I don't think my dad, my mom had the choice. So they did the best they could. And I'm so proud of what they did with all of us. But we have a choice now. Or we need to do more about making sure people understand what those choices and options are. And that's what I try to do now, is whenever I have an opportunity to talk on a panel, I do talk about us not taking advantage of these opportunities. That, I share my story of the first time I sought mental health counseling. And I didn't realize I didn't realize I thought about it this way until I had to do it. I recommended people to seek counseling and things of that nature. But when I had to practice what I preached,
That's right now. Come on.
I felt some kind of way.
Yeah.
And my first time, I'll share this with you. And again, I had to be aware of how I feel when I share this, because I've known that when I share it, other things start to come up. But I was at a stoplight toward the end of my career. I had deployed 3 times. A lot of things happened.
Yes, sir.
And so I'm about to close it out, and I'm sitting at a stoplight, and I start crying.
Yeah.
And I called my wife, and I'm like, I don't know what's wrong with me.
Yeah.
I said, I need to talk to somebody.
Right.
And so, she's huge support. So I decided to make an appointment and to go to the hospital on post to talk to a therapist.
Yeah.
So I'm in uniform. I got my, everything on, and I'm get on the elevator. The mental health floor is the 13th floor, right? So after so many floors, people know where you're going.
Yeah, of course. Right. Oh, you're going to that floor.
So So I get on the 2nd floor. I'm on the elevator. I'm going up. People coming on the elevator, and then they're getting off at the 7th floor. I'm still on the elevator, right? People still on the elevator. They get off at the 9th floor. I'm still on the elevator. So here you are, Command Sergeant Major Campbell. I'm sure they weren't thinking this, but I'm thinking this. And I'm thinking about getting off on the 10th floor and walking, taking the stairs. But something kept me on the elevator. And I went on up there. And as I shared this before, God was like, this is not about you. You need to help. But when I walk in, I see all these junior soldiers in there. And my mind want to say, they think something's wrong with me.
Right.
My mind want to say, what's the sergeant major doing up here? you know. But what I did was I took a seat right next to him because I had to change my mindset to
Come
say,
on.
if he's okay coming up here,
Right.
it must be all right for me to be up
Come
here.
on.
That's a
And that's
quick
what I
shift.
wanted the soldiers to start thinking.
Wow.
If the sergeant major come up here and get counseling, then I'm in the right spot because they're probably thinking the same thing.
Yeah.
So as senior leaders, we need, and I started to see it, we need to advocate for our service members and their families to seek to help
Yes.
the mental health that they need. I mean, we went through 20 years of war dealing with Afghanistan and Iraq, 20 plus years. I was in Afghanistan in 2002, and I went to Iraq in 2004. And in that time, when I came home from Iraq in November of 2004, both of my parents died.
Jeez.
My mom and my dad. My dad died November the 29th. I think my mom died 2 days. My mom died 2 days later.
Wow.
I never processed that.
Right.
I dealt with that, and I distracted myself by staying busy. It came out one time. I dealt with it, but didn't go see anybody. So now here's all this stuff, these deployments, the stressors that go along with that, losing my mom and my dad 2-3 weeks after I came home.
Jeez.
The things that went on with that continue to go on with that, the guilt I felt I wasn't there for, things that I was processing. And somebody had to help me get through that.
Of course.
So after I left the military, I went through a couple of therapists and didn't work out. But then I ran into this brother. He looked like me.
Okay.
And we started off a little rocky, but it worked out. And he really pushed me, not only in my mental health, to get me to where I am today, where I can cope with these things through the skills that I know that he gave me and the skills that I've learned. But he also pushed me in a way to become a better therapist.
Okay, now.
And then he pushed me, because during that time I was pursuing my PhD, and he held me accountable. He was already a doctor. He already had his PhD. So he was like, Campbell, you're what we need in this field. And he was there the whole way. And then when I called him and told him about it, it was just great to be able to thank him for his encouragement, for his holding me accountable to move forward. Because there was times when, I was moving a little slow.
Yeah.
Right. You just need a little steam.
Yeah, a little swift trick in the pants, they say,
That's it.
right? Yes,
So
sir.
he was there. So yeah, so it's huge. And the military is huge. I think they're doing a better job
Now,
of,
yes.
of it becoming more acceptable
Of course.
to do that. I don't know if they're all the way there yet.
Right.
But I see it in our community
Yeah, okay.
where Black men we're still struggling with
Yeah.
being okay with not being okay, and being okay with seeing somebody. But people, when they actually come see me, it tends to work out. They tend to open up. I just wish more people could see the benefits of seeking behavioral health counseling.
100%.
And I think that's a great point, but I know you had a
Yeah.
thought you wanted to share.
I think that there's so many things, but when you positioned yourself to receive the support, you grew every time. That's what I'm hearing. And also, when it comes to trauma, mental health, there are so many people that are so ashamed and afraid, and forget the 13th floor. They would have not even drove up to the first
building.
floor, to
Yeah.
the building. So I'm really proud that even when you got to the 13th floor, a place of elevation, you got out and you sought that moment to be a leader. You sat next to those that were waiting as well, but you positioned yourself in a sense of confidence and you did not cower away. You weren't afraid to walk in and fully get your treatment. And I think it's really sad because there's so many people that won't receive what they need for fear of it being new, for fear of other people having something to say about them. But that was the start of your whole trajectory. You got a PhD in this, and you're helping save so many lives because you were honest about needing the help, and you stood in your truth and kept developing the you that was already ready for you. So I'm so grateful that you chose to do that. And I'm really grateful that you also didn't cower away from your own treatment, because you definitely could have. And it's scary. Like, I've been there as well. It is very interesting how in our culture, 100%, it feels like it's stigma, it's taboo. Don't, talk about your business to people that don't know you. But if if the person is equipped and they're your greatest support, and they have outside perspectives that can really help to transform your mindset and save lives. Like, there are so many people that commit suicide because they're trapped within. They're trapped within the war, the battlefield of the mind. So it's a beautiful thing and an honor for you to be honest, even with us, and to say this, because you're also, our audience is listening. And there might be someone right now that feels like they do need support. Go. Seek it, because it doesn't matter if you're corporal, it doesn't matter if you're an entrepreneur, a mom, a kid, adolescent, athlete, it doesn't matter. If you feel like there is something wrong, go get the support. Someone as a professional is there to help, to save, to build, and to help develop you as well. So
absolutely. And Doc, you said so many great things there. I want to highlight this because this is a very weighty moment, just for a second here. One, everything you shared, but the reality of what you shared. I think there are two things to discuss here. One is, you said that you went through a few counselors. It didn't work out.
Right.
And you didn't share much, but I understand that. Right. And that, I think, is what most people are afraid of, is because we don't know these people.
Right.
But you said one thing that I want to make sure I highlight. Our friend Nafis Ricks and Dr. Jay Barnett, who we just had on recently, they talk about the struggle to find counselors that look like
of
us.
Course. Especially our culture.
And especially men. I think, and I'm going to be wrong, you probably have the better stats, but it's just my memory trying to pull this out. I believe it's 4% of all counselors are African American. And then out of those, it's only like 1% male. I think I heard that somewhere. So you think about, that's another reason why it's still a struggle, because we don't see ourselves reflected. And we also don't know if we can trust the people that say that they're qualified to have actually been prepared enough to handle our mess. What would you say to someone who's speaking that? Because I guarantee you someone feels that. I sometimes feel that. What are your thoughts on that?
So I think the question is, as far as thinking someone is qualified, meaning you walk in the office and see someone who does or does not look like you. Is that what I'm hearing?
It's a few of those things, but you can speak to it however you feel best. I know I kind of put a whole lot in there.
Yeah. So, and that happens a lot. And it's on both sides. Some therapists don't feel like they can treat veterans if they've never been a veteran.
Credibility. Okay.
And some veterans feel like they can't be treated by therapists who've never been a veteran.
Right. I can understand that.
Yeah.
Of course.
And my therapist, the guy that I still see to this day, he's not a veteran. He's treated a lot of veterans, and he has a skill set that, is second to none, in my opinion. And I think what we have to get past is this prejudgment thing. As a veteran, I think we need to get past this. They can't help me unless they're a veteran. Do my experience inform my practice? Yes. But there are a lot of people that come into my office that I don't share the same experience with. And I'm prayerfully beneficial to them. So it's, when you're dealing with therapy, it's about unconditional positive regard. It's about being non-judgmental. It's about being empathetic. Those are the skills that, the basic skills that our therapists are given as soon as they start learning how to be a therapist. So if we can get beyond, as clients, if we can get beyond this person has to be this way, this person has to have this experience, and give it a chance. And if it doesn't work, like in my case, I just politely excuse myself from the session.
There you go.
And I look for somebody else. We do the same thing with doctors, but we tend to hold therapists at a different standard.
I can give you that.
That's very true.
So I did wind up meeting this guy. He's a brother, and he was able to address my concerns of post-traumatic stress disorder. He was able to address my concerns of grief, or not really dealing with the grief. He was able to address my concerns with anger management or becoming irritated, understanding where that came from. He was able to help me understand what informed my decisions for 30 years. And he wasn't a veteran,
Yeah.
but he was a person that cared.
And there
Come
it
on.
goes.
So I think we just got to give people a chance. Sometimes we defeat it, and then we have to ask ourselves, why are we defeating this? Because we really don't want to go.
Right.
Yeah, sure. Absolutely.
Right. So we don't know what a person can do for us until we give them an opportunity to do it.
That's
Yes,
it.
sir.
That's it.
And
Absolutely.
prayerfully, you'll be able to benefit from their services if you give them a fair chance to
Right.
provide their services to you.
Right. Right.
So that's what I would ask people to do. Give therapy a chance. If it doesn't work out, you got options.
Yes.
But hopefully it does for you.
Right.
And then you can move forward and reaching the goals that you have for yourself.
I
Incredible.
love that.
You know, sometimes I think if you're listening, and we've talked about this before, we'll put limitations on the access that we have.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to make sure that I say something because a lot of times, and I get it, you may be in the audience saying, but I don't know where to start. But most of us, not everyone, but most of us have insurance. That's a great place to start. Ask your insurer if there's coverage for mental health. And if there is, then they will provide a list or they can provide access to people that you can search through. I'm going through the process myself for qualifications or things you're looking for. But that's a start. And I think what my uncle, doctor, I don't know what to say, I feel like breakdancing. No, but sincerely, I believe he's saying is just give yourself the best chance. That's honestly what you want for yourself. Goes back to the point we made at the beginning of the show when Dr. Marcus was talking about the sergeant, I believe it was, that came to him and said, if you don't invest in yourself.
That's right. That's right.
Well, this is an opportunity for you to invest in yourself.
Right.
Maybe that's all you have to do. Right. Coach Ivana, oftentimes uses principles of reframing and shifting perspectives.
Yes.
And you just heard an incredible one by Dr. Marcus when he went to get treatment. And he had to tell himself, well, maybe this is an example to other people who are looking up to me that this is something that they too can benefit from.
Right.
Maybe shift your perspective a little bit more so that you can give yourself the courage necessary to move forward.
That's
And
right.
Go ahead.
And there are some, I'll speak to another
Sure.
part of the audience or demographic that may not have insurance and they may not have the resources available right now. I believe that it could be as small as just writing and letting it out that way, journaling, starting to release the emotions that might be within that are just screaming to be out anyway. It also can take some cognitive restructuring when you're looking in the mirror and you're being honest and you're just talking into the same image that's looking back at you. These are small practices I use with my clients, and I've seen so much breakthrough happen. And it's something that hit me immediately was, well, there are people that don't have right now, but these are things that can help as valid resources, tried and true. They really do help. So, yeah.
And there are also resources, and Doctor, you may be able to speak to that as well, but there are resources that we will probably do some research. And in fact, what we'll do is we'll find a few links and have them put in the description of organizations that actually do offer free counseling.
That's right.
I know
That's
there are
right.
some specifically in Atlanta that offer, and Georgia and different places, but the point we're making is you can find help. So don't let the barrier to entry keep you from entering.
Right. Right.
Because you're preparing the person for where you truly believe you're destined to be.
That's right.
That means you have to be willing to fight for
That's
the
right.
person you believe you're meant to become.
Yes.
Doc, any thoughts?
Nah, I think that's great. First of all, I love the way y'all bring my thoughts together. I love it. Anna, when you was talking about cognitive restructuring, that's a huge part of cognitive behavioral therapy,
Come on.
which is what I use.
Yes.
So
Wow.
it's a great tool. Cognitive behavioral therapy is designed to empower the client
Yes.
so that they become their own therapy
That's right. That's right.
through things like Socratic questioning, through
Yes.
things like cognitive restructuring, through positive reinforcement, all of those things that I'm sure you use. And they take that, and again, as me, I use that on not just with my clients, but I use it for myself. When you're talking about opportunities for receiving counseling, there are grants out there. Our church applied and received a grant where when members come to them and they need therapy, they've already created a network with therapists and in the community to where they pay for so many sessions from that grant. There's another grant out there that deals with the elderly, the agency that I work with, Elephant in the Room. They applied for a grant to help elderly people, where they can provide services to them that they don't have to pay for, and they received that grant. So now they're able to provide free services for elderly people. There's another organization that I was partnering with that are in the process of trying to receive grant money grant funding to help veterans in the community. And there's another agency that just came online that's doing just that. So there are opportunities out there, and if agencies want to explore these grant opportunities, they're definitely there, and we just have to have to have the desire to look for it, apply
Yes.
to it, because they're not easy. Paperwork is not
Of
always.
course.
Um, it's not just sign your name and they give it to you,
Right.
Right.
but it's doable.
Yes, sir.
I watched our agency go through it, and we found out just yesterday that we received it.
Congratulations.
That's
So it's
awesome.
great. It is great to see that these resources are available, especially for people who may have a concern with affording it.
That's incredible.
Wow.
Well, Doc, we always like to give the last word to our guests. Is there anything you like to say that you hadn't gotten the opportunity to share? It doesn't matter how long it takes, but is there any last words or communicative message you'd like to give to our listeners?
No, I think y'all gave me a lot of opportunity to talk, and I took advantage of that. I do appreciate this opportunity. I really wish that we would do more around mental health.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Um, I do couples,
Okay.
and I provide services to families. I deal specifically with adults. I used to see children, but I only see children now in a family setting.
Okay.
And the reason being is because I feel that the family, especially when you're dealing with a child, needs to understand what their role is
Absolutely.
in that
Yes.
process.
Yes.
And if I'm just seeing a child individually and I'm sending them home and
Right. They're right
the
back.
work is not being done in the
That's right.
house,
That's right.
then it's difficult
Yeah.
for the child to process all of that.
Sure.
So I just wish that we would do more of mental health awareness. So I
Right.
appreciate this opportunity that y'all gave me to speak on this,
Thank
to
you.
also speak on my career to the veterans out there. I truly appreciate what they continue to do for our communities, and to the active duty service members, I appreciate what they're doing
Sincerely.
for our country right now. And thanks for providing that opportunity for us to talk about those things.
It's beautiful. I love that. It's so exciting. And I even want to say that it's almost like you found greater purpose even outside of your rank when you were in this
Yeah.
field. Like, this is so beautiful because everywhere you went, you served. Everywhere you went, you were leading. And maybe that's for someone. If you feel on the inside that you do need to maybe get another degree, or maybe pursue higher education, or maybe just discover what your talents are already screaming at you, know that it's always going to be for the benefit of not just yourself, but for the people that are waiting on your gifts, the people that are waiting for that degree. They're waiting for that credibility so that you can serve them. This is all about leadership servitude. Servitude obviously will change your latitude.
That's right.
We're ending now, but I'm just really grateful because this is a leader right here
Yeah.
that has done it. He's put in the work. He's invested in himself, and now it's your time. How are you going to invest in yourself this week, this month, this year?
And Doc, if you wouldn't mind, share them. Where can they find information about you? Maybe someone wants to work with you or inquire.
Yes.
Do you have a website or an organization you can direct them to?
Yeah, well, I'm not that swanky yet, but I am on Psychology Today. So
Okay,
if anybody's looking for a therapist in this area, in the Augusta, Evans, they call it a Central Savannah River area. If
Okay.
you're looking for someone who's licensed in Georgia, you can go to Psychology Today, and just put my name in there and it'll pop up.
Perfect.
And then you can reach out to me that way.
Perfect.
I also work with an agency called Elephant in the Room here in this area. So if you call there and ask for me, they'll take your information and see what they can do to get you scheduled.
You better believe it, man. We got you. And I just want to say one more time, Doctor, so glad you're here.
Yes.
I'm so proud of you. I even remember back in the day, you said something to me. You said, you got to remember, Charles, I spent 30 years in an institution. I was institutionalized. So I want to thank you for the work that you did to transfer all of your skills into civilian life. Because that's what most people don't really credit you all for. This is not an easy switch.
Right.
And you're doing it with grace. So I just want to tell you thank you
Yes.
for gracing this show.
Yes.
If you're looking for any more information on Dr. Marcus, of course, you'll see that we'll have links at the bottom. And of course, while you are watching, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and then of course, hit that share button, because that is a way you can raise awareness
That's right.
on mental health. Someone can relate to this, and if you know any veterans or anyone who's in the military or thinking about it, this is a great video to share with them. We hope that we'll see you on the next episode, but until next time, I'm checking out, Coach Charles.
Bye.